all new. AM1150WTMP.com.
African American patriot. He had done his sir. Read up on it real quick. Okay. Life story.
We're all about phenomenal. That's us. Like Les said too.
Alrighty. Those are the words that many folks waiting all day to hear.
With a bated breath.
Because that's the start of the best show on urban radio.
Number one again, Eddie.
And I'm not, I'm
year.
not bragging because normally, if you say something that's true, kind of like Tom Brady, Tom Brady wants to go undefeated this year. So everybody, and I don't know, and I haven't heard of anybody giving him a whole bunch of gaff about that because everybody's Buck fan that's around here, and they want him to go undefeated. So the fact that we do what we do, and we've been doing it for 10 years, so we've kind of got used to being the best. I mean, everywhere we've been,
Just the way we roll.
When we started this show 10 years ago, WGUL, there was no audience. Nobody started. The show before us sucked. The show after us sucked. So we had
Still the same, Eddie.
So we had to create an audience. 5 o'clock Saturday afternoon.
Was it 5 o'clock?
That was 5
Oh,
o'clock
my
Saturday
goodness.
afternoon when we first started this thing. And we built the show, we built the audience, and then we went to WTBCN, Tampa Bay Community Network, and we built the show over there.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, we've been here at TMP for almost 5 years.
Really?
So yeah. So we've been doing what we've been doing now. Now they've changed the time a couple of times, but you guys have found us. So no matter what they've done to make it hard on us, we've kind of overcome because of the nature of our show and the nature.
We're overcomers, Eddie.
The nature of our listeners. So I want to thank you. So I am personally thanking you guys for being the great listening audience that you are. And I want to make sure I let you know that we appreciate you. Today's show, before I start the show, I'm going to tell you it's going to be a little different show. So I'm going to ask of you. And my wife would correct me for saying axe, like axe in the
This
back.
Walmart speak?
So I'm just saying, for the first 30 minutes, if you would, I'm gonna, we're gonna make sure that, cause Tom Gaitens, who's our guest today, was here a couple weeks ago, and you guys were so enthralled with the conversation. He had a whole list of things and topics and information that we had talked about, and he was gonna bring it to you guys. But I'm gonna tell you, we got to one. He had a list of about 10 things, and we got to one. And I'm not saying it's your fault, because I'm the host of the show, and I control it, and we want to make sure that you understand that this is your show, but that's why I'm asking you ahead of time to wait about 30 minutes before you start calling in. The engineer has instruction to not take any calls, for the first 30 minutes. Then after that, we can do the regular thing. Because I want you to get the information that Tom wants to give. It's important, and he's talking to our community. He's the state. He's the Hillsborough County State Committee man. For those who understand politics, local and state politics, it's a big thing for us to have him as our guest. So he's here. He's with us. He like you. He told me that after the last show. He loved my audience. And what we're going to do is I'm going to start the show. So if you want to call in during the show after the first 30 minutes, the call-in number here at WTMP is 813-251-9867. 813-251-9867. If you want to call me after the show, later during the week, which I got a bunch of calls. Folks like what we do. I got some people who traditionally I would not think would listen to my show because it's mostly political and we are different political persuasion. I got some yellow dog Democrats who have come to me and say, Eddie, I heard your show and I actually like your show. Now these are yellow dog Democrats. And for you Democrats who don't know what a yellow dog Democrat is,
The young ones, yeah.
that means that person would vote for a yellow dog before he would vote for a Republican.
That's it.
That's what yellow dog Democrat is.
But
so for a person or two, and I've had a couple people come to me and say, I don't agree with your politics, but I like your show. I like the conversation. So that means we're doing something right. And thank you. If any of you guys are listening to us now, thank you. And today's show is not going to be any different. We're going to have a great show for you. And Tom's going to give us some great information. So if you want to email me, Eddie, EDDIE, at PorchTalkRadio.com. That's where you can find me. And without further ado,
let's do it.
Tom Gaitens. Tom,
Yay!
reintroduce yourself because I may have left a couple of titles or a couple of things out, and go ahead and do it, and then we'll start the conversation, and we're gonna make sure that this community gets your information this time, and then after 30 minutes, then we can have a regular show and go from there.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Gabriel. This is, first of all, you do have an amazing audience. I mean, I don't know any other local radio show that has callers from Georgia and Chicago. The last two times I've been on. That's
worldwide,
amazing.
brother.
It's amazing. It's so cool, and it's a testament to the show. But a couple topics. One was, and I think it's important, I want to first thank your audience because your audience and our fellow Floridians helped push some pieces of legislation this session, which were huge, historic, in terms of its benefit for our local community, us as citizens, and more importantly, our fellow, as yourself, small business owners. And that is the fact that we were able to pass, and the governor signed, the first bill this session was COVID liability protection relief. And the reason that's important is in Florida, we have excessive tort frivolous lawsuits. Tort is that, is an important part of our structural system. And tort law is crucial. And just to keep everyone up to speed on it, it's the vehicle that we use to protect injured parties in our system.
Speak a little louder.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So, tort law is used to protect people who get injured in our society, and we use the court system to aggrieve those injuries. Right? We all have been involved in them in our lifetimes. But what's amazing is Florida has been a judicial hellhole for a long time, which means the trial attorneys have used our system and abused our system. We have lost 71,000 jobs. A recent study has shown 71,000 jobs because of excessive tort costs.
But how does the average consumer lose on that?
Well, again, great question. The higher cost of goods and services, your doctor, your insurance, your health insurance. So one of the reasons your health insurance is so high is because, think about this, every time we go in to see the doctor, what happens? He throws every test under us because he wants to protect himself from a lawsuit. And that's not good medicine. It's not. He doesn't want to do it, but he's afraid not to, right? And so that fear in the system forces us. The nice thing is you have a great governor who's helped support small business and support us here in Hillsborough County. I just want to give this number. This is a scary number. $5.6 billion in lost business in Florida because of this. And the reason it matters is if you're a small business person or if you're looking for a job, wouldn't it be nice to have additional opportunities to apply for a job here, or more people to have more money in your pocket to be able to pay employees? That's number one issue, and I just want to thank you guys for giving me a chance to share on that. But here's the other issue. Thank you to your audience, because your pressure has helped put our Board of County Commissioners on notice to bring your money, that illegal tax, back into our pockets, right?
Right.
And so we can talk a little more about that and what we started this week, but your audience is the key to this. It really is. Eddie, first of all, thank you for creating this audience, but more importantly, your audience has the opportunity between now and next year to contact their county commissioners over and over again, say, I want my illegally taxed funds back in my pocket. There's many ways this could be done. We can talk about those in a moment. But at average, for the average Floridian, the average Hillsborough County resident, it comes out to $350 per person that
Wow.
was taken.
Wow.
Wouldn't that be a nice stimulus in
Yeah.
everyone's pocket?
Yeah.
Yeah. A government check coming from the state.
Exactly.
Like Alaska does, but that's an overflow because of the oil.
Because of royalties.
Yeah.
So the nice thing about this is, well, the bad thing about this is it was stolen. It was illegally done. The county attorney and the BOCC knew it was wrong, but they pushed forward anyway because they wanted your money and they wanted their rail dreams. And a lot of the residents in this community understand the gentrification that was going to happen. They were going to buy up land near the rail access points and run that real estate up and push people out. And that's happened in Portland. It happened in Phoenix. It happens all over the place when light rail goes into the system. It's a magnet for crime. These are the things that happen. We can hold them back now. You can get better roads. I mean, driving here, how many potholes did we hit? Non-stop, right? They ignore those problems.
So just saying BOCC, what was that?
Yeah, the Board of County Commissioners. Yep.
Sorry about that, kind of missed the boat on that one.
Right.
No, I'm sorry. I need to define terms. You're right.
And again, so you're saying after it's all said and done, the fact that these people are not all on the same page, shall I say? The money just keeps going
Well,
different directions?
right now, thankfully, because of Commissioner White and his lawsuit and a gentleman in South County's lawsuit, the money is being held in escrow. The Department of Revenue is holding that $500 billion.
Wow.
Think about that, $500 billion that was taken out of the pockets of every resident in Hillsborough County. Every transaction, that extra one cent on every dollar you spent that was taxed is being held in escrow. But it belongs to you, and you need it back. You need that $350.
Did we ever see that?
Well, great question. So this is what your Board of County Commissioners wants to do. They want to do that 3-card Monte trick to you. And this is what they want to push. And I'll tell you the two options we should push, and here's what they want to push. They want to push that you have to bring back all your receipts from the 27 months, or sorry, the 17 months of the tax. They want you to come to a 3-judge panel and say, here are my receipts. Who keeps the receipts? How many people in your audience itemize?
So they obviously know this one, it's a trick.
Exactly. So because they want to keep that money and spend it the way they want to spend it. So call your county commissioners and say, no, what we want is our money back. We want one of two things. Either the Department of Revenue to send us checks directly for every man, woman, and child. Every
When's
child.
the last time that happened?
Yeah, it doesn't. But this is a unique opportunity because the state Supreme Court deemed this tax unconstitutional. It was illegal. Should have never been pushed forward. And our county attorneys allowed it to happen. That's just egregious. That number one is we could do a direct rebate for everybody of that about $350 per person. That means if you're a family of 4, you get 3 times $1,350, right? That's $1,400. Or, which I think it may be more balanced, is a sales tax holiday where they reduce the tax by a full penny. So whatever you spend, you're not going to be taxed as much for that period of time until the money's all returned to the people of Hillsborough County. Those are the two more sensible options. But what the BOCC wants to do, they still want to hold your money and spend it. That's all they want to do.
Well, see, the thing, and this is something that I'm telling the audience that maybe many folks don't understand. This was not an idea that you, the general public, came up with. This was not a need that you, the general public, thought was necessary. What happened was there was an organized campaign in which several people, billionaires, came up and put, a couple of $5 million here, $5 million there to fund a campaign. And if you remember, you had people, some of them black, that you ain't ever seen before show up at your neighborhood meeting, show up at group sessions, info, some of them even knocking on your doors, giving you information about this traffic transportation tax and how it's going to benefit you and your community and all that stuff. It was a campaign. Yep. And like any other campaign, most of you guys know there was an awful lot of lies in there. So stuff that they was campaigning on that they never intended to do. it was part of the campaign strategy to do a backdoor on what happens to the money, where the money goes. Because normally, when money is collected in Hillsborough County, it goes through the Board of County Commission. The Board of County Commissioners, distribute the money. Now, if you notice, this thing created their own committee. So the campaign folks knew that the Board of County Commissioners was not going to spend the money the way they wanted. So they wanted their own pot of money. So they in the legislation they put and created their own political body to distribute and to handle the money. Now, whenever have you seen any shenanigans, and excuse my French, have you seen any shit like that happen?
But
Never.
Eddie, they passed it.
So unfortunately, because of what Eddie said,
It was a campaign.
It was a AFT lied to the people. The mailers that they would send out would say, "This is for new roads in your community. This is for expanded capacity on your roads in South County or East County or Central in the urban centers." But the problem was it wasn't. And as Eddie just pointed out, they had their predetermined pots and how they were going to spend this money, and none of it was going to go to expanded roads. I mean, think about everyone's coming to Florida. Everyone's coming to Florida. I mean, go anywhere in county and there's construction going on, but what's not happening is new roads aren't being built and wider roads aren't being built, and it's because of this. This is a scary reality. Think back in 2009, 10, 11, 12, the county commission had gotten a loan for bus rapid transit, which would help this community. They got a huge loan from Wells Fargo, but they didn't spend it because they wanted the situation to get worse, so they shelved the loan. But we were paying the premium and the interest on the loan. And Wells Fargo finally sent a letter saying, "Hey, Hillsborough County City Manager and BOCC Commissioners, why aren't you spending this loan?" But the reason was because the loan was specifically for bus rapid transit for inner city community, right? But they wanted the people to be upset and be lower served and have bad services and declining and decrepit services because they wanted them to be so upset about transportation that they would vote for the tax that they were going to bait them with. That's evil.
And if you remember, they reduced certain routes, and I heard people on the street, at the barber shop, in the grocery store, complaining about some of the routes that, people have been using for years. Now all of a sudden, those routes were gone. And they were gone, for a reason. It wasn't because of ridership, it wasn't because of none of the traditional reasons why a route is cut. It was political. And everything that you guys know about Hillsborough County and the city of Tampa and a lot of this stuff, this stuff is political. And because you're not, I don't believe in politics and I don't get involved in politics, which is what I hear a lot of you guys say all the time. But everything that affects your daily lives is political. Whether you want to believe it or not, whether you want to get involved or not, that's why I got involved in politics, 20 years ago, is because I woke up one day and they was changing, the streets in my neighborhood. They were going to block off a street. That's actually how I got involved in politics. Them changing the street that me and my wife used every day. They were going to close it down and say, hell no. And the street's open today. But that was the start of the whole thing of how I got into politics. And as I got in, I learned more and I learned more and I learned more and I learned more. And at the end of the day, what I try to do here is make sure you guys have the knowledge and you have the motivation and the activity to say, well, I don't like that, and I, as an individual living in this county paying taxes, can't do something about it. All you got to do is stand up and decide I want to be active. I want to get involved.
My mentor in politics said this, and you just encapsulated it perfectly. He said, politics goes to those who show up, and that's why it matters to show up. Ultimately, this is where the rubber meets the road. What you did is citizen activism. What your community can do is citizen activism. Call your county commissioners and say, I want a sales tax holiday or I want a direct check. And if I've got 4 kids, I've got 5 kids, that's a check for every one of them. Think of what that stimulus will do. And that's real money. That's your money that was sent up there. This is not the fake money that's being printed in D.C. and they're sending stimulus checks that are robbing our children's future. This is money that is yours, that's sitting in the Department of Revenue in Tallahassee in a bank account that is yours. It belongs to you, Hillsborough County resident.
You know, you guys talk about the activism, and I'm just reminded, Eddie, I'm sure your area needs another roundabout. So
See, wait. See, the black community is getting roundabout. I live in Temple Terrace. So let me say this right now. There are no roundabouts that I know of inside the city limits of Temple Terrace.
they're fixing to do one, I'm sure.
So no, again, I don't live in. I not that there's anything wrong, but I don't live in a black community. For some reason or another, the county and the city think that black folks love roundabouts. That's why you're getting $300,000 roundabouts.
And you know that money could go somewhere else in the community.
It could go anywhere else in the community other than roundabouts. I'm just saying.
It's just a waste of money.
So-
And again, it's having the knowledge to say, you know what, I need to get off the couch. I need to go do something. And you, both of you men are talking about just show up.
Show up.
Just show up and make some noise. Eddie, you've had some meetings where you've had a lot of people show up, and
Had a
suddenly
bunch of
something
meetings.
changed.
Bunch of
And
meetings.
something changed because a lot of people showed up. But when nobody shows up, the politicians are free to rob you and rape and pillage at will.
So let me segue just for a second on that, and this is where it matters. So you asked, who are you, Tom? And so one of the roles I play in Hillsborough County, actually in the state, I've taken a position as executive director for Citizens Against Lawsuit Abuse, which means I'm helping our fellow citizens fight the trial attorneys who are on our TV and our radio all day long, right? Now, it's great that they'll fund some of our little baseball teams or our community baseball team.
But
The problem is what they're taking from you is your freedom to do business, your freedom to serve, your freedom to go out and have fun. And think about this. Why does your mattress tag say, do not remove this for penalty of law? It's because of trial attorneys who have made the system worse. Not all trial lawyers are bad. That's part of the point is, tort system, how we aggrieve ourselves. If you get harmed, you should be able to go to the courts and get your day in court. And it should be quick. By law, it should be quick. The problem is the courts are filled up with these things, these bad lawsuits. The cup of coffee that was too doggone expensive, right? And then you go to
They
these
say
places.
it was too hot.
Right.
Good.
And now you get this lukewarm coffee, and you're thinking, by the time I get to work, I've got to put it in the microwave to heat it up again, right?
Right.
This is the insanity. Decisions that we make shouldn't be based on our fear of getting sued or the fear of seeing a suit. $11 billion in increased economic activity if we put into place sensible law. Now, that's our legislators' job, right? But again, going back to what Gabriel and you just said, Eddie, and that is, if we show up, we can improve our system. But if we let the trial lobby, with all their lobby dollars, to keep throwing money at these politicians, we're going to keep getting worse and worse laws. That's why Florida is a judicial hell. We're just coming out of this realm of judicial hellhole. I just want to encourage people to call your legislators and say, listen, defend me. Don't defend the trial attorneys.
Right. And like the example I used for how I got started. Okay, so I show up at city council meeting for the city of Temple Terrace, and I bought 200 of my friends and neighbors and people who lived in my community. So at the city council meeting, all the seats were full outside in the lobby and
Awesome.
and hanging out the door. So guess what? I knew when that many people showed up for a city council meeting, the end result was going to be positive because every one of those SOBs up there was elected by the people, and what they don't want to do is break political rule 101, which means if you got a whole bunch of people interested in anything, you got to go with the people because that's how you get unelected. That's how you lose your next election. To have a whole bunch of people upset, mad at you because you did something that you knew the people, you knew went against the people. And that's why it's important. And every time, and I'm going to say this, every time I've had an issue in which I've asked you guys to show up and at the statue downtown in front of county chambers, court chambers. That statue got moved because we showed up and had 19 people show up at a county commission meeting. It works. You just have to decide that there's something that you want bad enough to organize and go fight it. And that works for anything, anywhere in this country. Because the politicians we got here in Hillsborough County are no different than the ones in Sarasota, Miami,
Washington,
Atlanta, Washington, D.C., New York, California. If the community decides that we uproar, and a lot of folks think the riots are the issue. Riots don't change politics, but showing up for those county commission meetings, city council meetings, you get politics change, you get issues change, you get policy change, you get people fired, and that's what you want to do. You want to be smart about how we do this. There's a couple of ways to do it, but one thing that I have seen over and over again, if you show up, we went down to Manatee County for an issue, filled up. I live here in Hillsborough, but we went to Manatee because it was an issue. And I'm telling you, all those county commissioners, when they look around that room and they see faces, they don't know you ain't from Manatee unless you go up there and tell them. It's the issue. And concerned citizens showing up at county commission, city council, means about an issue has a positive effect. I'm telling you that now.
Eddie, I'd gone up to Tallahassee about 3 years ago, and there was a particular issue on a prior governor that had his buddy was going to get some money in the travel industry or something like that. And I was one of the people that showed up say, hell no. And there were 3 votes that they needed to make that happen, and I was one of those 3 votes. And the governor did not end up giving his buddy that contract. I was like, wow.
Pressure happens. So think about this. Look around the country, and you mentioned it, Eddie, some of these riots and these burning of some cities. The sad part is they're burning the businesses, their neighbors' business.
Their own people,
within their own community.
So it's hurting the local economy. But then here's the rubber. If those people actually showed up at a county commission or city council meeting, they would get the effectual change that they are seeking. And
But it'd be long term, right?
It'd be long term. Sustainable. Let me just give you this other number. We talked about the $350 that's being held for every man, woman, and child in Hillsborough County by the Department of Revenue for the illegal tax. But tort reform, if we had enacted proper tort reform, we get it pushed through at all levels in Tallahassee, that's $251 for every man, woman, and child in Hillsborough County. So think of how good governance, which is what we all want, and the way we get it is by showing up. By effecting that change and getting good governance, we could put back in our pocket more than $500 for every person in your household. Think how that will impact your spending ability, your ability to
But
go.
it's your own money.
Exactly.
But see, the fact of the matter is it's coming back. And it's coming back from which it went. Very seldom, if ever, once the government, that's state, county, city, federal, gets tax dollars that they took from you,
They got it.
very seldom do it ever comes back to you. I'm just saying. And more often than not, never.
And that IRS return.
Regardless of right or wrong, how they got it, it never comes back to you.
And that IRS return is really your money.
Right. So to your point, that's where this really. So if we do a sales tax holiday, you're going to still have to engage in your economic activity to get your money back by reducing that from 7.5 cents to 6.5 cents, or however low we'll drop it to get through that process. The direct check for everybody would be a direct stimulus right in your pocket right away. You can choose to spend the way you are. But this is the most important part. Going back to the activism, going back to the showing up at the county courthouse, the county commission, the city council meetings. The reason this is important is because your roads outside, when your trash doesn't get picked up, you call and you say, hey, my house was skipped.
Right.
When your road, when you have the potholes, when you turn the corner at your house, and you're like, boom, those auto repairs, that your strut's being shot, right? And
Wheels,
and
blown tires.
Your shock's being shot, your tires. These are actual costs that everyone has to go through. But for years, they've stopped filling our potholes. They've stopped paving our roads. They've stopped expanding our roads because they want to effectuate the bad in your life. So you vote for the transportation tax, which was really a transit tax. It was only going to fund It was going to take riderships away from buses, and they wanted to put them on a rail line. The problem is it's a fixed rail line. It doesn't. As the population shifts from east to west or north to south, it doesn't move. It's a fixed line, and the problem becomes the maintenance. None of the tax was going to maintenance, which is a real. My point is, they did no due diligence of listening to the community, and Eddie, you pointed out that the billionaire class was all for this because they're the developers. Vinnick gave a loan to the Tampa Tribune of $100 million. Do you think we, who are the concerned opposition to this tax, got one letter to the editor printed? Did we get one article that said, well, here are the pros and cons? No. Yesterday, or on Wednesday, we had a press conference. Now, hopefully you saw it on news, but we had a press conference at the county center, the George Carl building in downtown Tampa. And we said we want our money back. All the stations were there that day. That was our relaunch, so to speak, to fight this effort. But already, within hours, they went to AFT, which is all for transportation. I call them all for tax. And they already asked for their response. They never once, when there was an article printed in the Tribune or a story on Channel 8, they never once said, oh, let's get fixourroadsfirst.com response, let's get no tax for tracks.com response to what AFT is pushing. The powers that be in the county wanted one thing. They wanted light rail. You in the county need better roads, better transportation, which includes better busing. These are the things we need. Let's demand it.
Right.
Wow.
And I'm going to say something now because I respect you, my listening audience. You know, I asked you for 30 minutes, and you gave us 30 minutes. And I appreciate that, and I thank you. And, you know, for those who would like to call in, you can call in now, and we're going to go to our regular formatted show. So all you who want to call in, you know, Porch Talk Radio is your favorite show, and we know that. And you guys on Facebook Live, you know, we know, and we appreciate you. But it was just something that I thought was important. And I wanted you to get the information. Whether you do anything with it or not, it's up to you. But I think it's our duty as a community leader in making sure that information gets to the people, that we put it out there. Now again, you can do with it what you want. You know, it's up to you. But we've done our part because we've said it, we made it available, and we've kind of you know, showed you how the system works. I know how the system works. I've been in it, you know, and I've been in the inside of it. You know, I've been a candidate. You know, I worked on a lot of community organizations and seeing how they get stuff done and they do stuff. And I'm telling you, the black community, if we ever get our act together, you know, it's limitless. And if you don't know what the word limitless means, I mean, you have nothing that you can't do if you start working together. I went to a CRA meeting for the city of Tampa a couple of weeks ago, and I saw a presentation, you know, about what's happening right across the bay, right there in St. Pete, and how they are light years ahead of what we're doing here because they figured out a way how to work together. And just like that, we got a caller. Caller, welcome to Porch Talk Radio on this fine Saturday afternoon. Who are you? Where you calling from? And what say you? Hello?
Good afternoon, Brother Eddie, to you and all of your listeners. It's Brother Willie G. Dixon from Tampa, Florida. There's a couple of things I'd like to say. Now, you mentioned St. Petersburg. Do you know at one time they wanted to tear down Jordan Park in St. Petersburg, but the people would not allow them to do that?
And we were the architectural firm that rebuilt, redeveloped, and redesigned Jordan Park. So thank you.
Okay, the next thing is this. I'm going to ask you a question, then I want to give you some information that I was able to research. I'm asking the question, and you and your audience, blue, white, black, and others, do you believe that racism and gentrification and gerrymandering exists presently in District 5?
They got racial gentrification in every black neighborhood in America because the land is cheaper. Not that the land has less value to the people who live there, but I found out the other day that, and I used this last couple of weeks, the Chinese communities in the Chinatown, they actually have Chinese hospitals now.
Really?
So they have everything in their community except for utilities, light and water, and things like that. But for us, all the necessities to live your life without ever leaving or ever selling your property to someone who's not Chinese, and they've been doing that since the 1800s. So if we ever decide that that's what we want to do, we can do it.
And you're 100% right. Back in the mid-2000s, I was involved. Oh, yeah.
Okay, last question. Okay, go ahead.
Wait a minute. Yeah. Well, okay. Let me add that with one or two, because there's a statement I want to make. Do you see where they are taking all of the black property in District 5? Let's say an example, but they have not touched Ybor City? That didn't happen by mere happenstance.
No, because it's political. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And when you say it's political, explain that to us, as your audience, what you mean, why they destroy the black community and then destroy a Hispanic community.
No, you're caller. You're exactly right. And I'll give you one to look up on the internet. Was back in the mid-2000s, like 2005, 2006, 2007, when the Supreme Court decision on Kelo happened. Wayne Huizenga, who those of us are old enough to remember Blockbuster and back in the day, he was a huge mega developer. He wanted to use government access in Riviera Beach, Florida, right across the coast from us, Riviera Beach, and he asked the government to annex the land in Riviera Beach because he wanted to build a private development, a big park. So what he wanted to do is kill 247 homes by use of eminent domain, which is what you're referring to, caller, because the government, with this sales tax, that's what they were going to do. They were going to eminent domain long stretches of Hillsborough County, mostly minority communities, kick the people out, take the land, and develop it for themselves around those areas. We fought them in 2005, 2006. We fought them hard, used the Institute of Justice, and what Huizenga was going to pay them, which is the what they call fair market value, low fair market value, when the eminent domain, which is when the government takes your property by force and then kicks you off and gives you a small little check. Mm-hmm. We fought them. We got enough support, and we forced them to triple the amount of money they were giving to every resident. So instead of giving them $150,000 to $200,000 per household, quarter acres in a community just like ours, because it was close to the water, they got nearly $450 to $500 per acre. I'm sorry, $100,000 per acre. That's what we need to do here in Hillsborough County. Your land is valuable.
So, but Ybor City is still protected.
But again, because it's
politics.
Politics of
Politics,
interest.
right.
That's why the people need to coalesce.
It's become a tourist mecca for Hillsborough County. Most of the people who come visit us at some point in time make it their business to go through to or by Ybor City. So kind of like in New Orleans, like when they go to Bourbon Street and do those kind of things. It's one of those kind of places that it's of interest to the city and the county to keep Ybor City in its current shape and condition, and to make sure that stays. Because there was a time when Ybor City, believe it or not, the buildings were there, but it went away. And it was a political decision to revive Ybor City. And now if you go there, they got brand new buildings, 4 and 5 stories tall on 7th Avenue. That was all political.
Brand new hotel.
Right. Some more residential properties, more commercial properties, all, because the people making those decisions, were not forced or they was not asked by the people to not do it. The people in Ybor is great. Ybor is up and coming again, but it's not reached the point that where it was in the 50s and the 60s. Ybor City was bigger than Tampa. A lot of people didn't know about Tampa, but they knew about Ybor City.
Really?
You still there? Okay, he come. Okay, next caller. Caller, welcome to Porch Talk Radio. this fine Saturday afternoon. Who are you? Where you calling from? And what say you? Hello?
Yeah, this is Joe Robinson from West Tampa.
Hey, Joe.
Joe!
The next counter side, the next downtown CRA. And we don't play that over here because we know politics. We know how to sue people. We know how to put people in jail that's out there doing public corruption. And we got leadership over here like myself. We don't play that. Done ran for all. I know all that stuff, Eddie. Y'all can talk what you want about the West Side, but we so envious now. They over here trying to mess with me, and they found out you mess with me, you might go to jail or to hell. Leave me alone, because I got plenty of lawyers and plenty of legal advice, and I know the law. So I just want to say you're right. They got, like your guest said, coalesce. You're right. They want to run that train and all that there stuff, you know, choo-choo train and all them people. And some of the same people on county commission, and it was wrong. They even came, probably the black folks trying to sell us. And we say, hey, you going to sell us? You ain't got the minority business participation on it.
Right.
What you talking about? They even paid black folks, lawyers, prominent lawyers, black, to go out and try to convince us black folks that know better to go their way. And we did. So I just want to tell your man on the show, when do we get my $300 check? Or when do I get my 1 penny sales tax? I ain't got to pay. Because I'm telling you, that's the way to go. And you're right, roads ain't there. What's on potholes out here? And yeah, they want to gentrify, but one thing I tell them on the west side, you're not a gentrified, but we're finna ungentrify when it brings people back. And when y'all see what's really finna happen on Main Street, we're going to be the envy for everybody around here. And black folks going to be right there. I don't care what the hell nobody say, we going to be right there. So all the people got the misinformation, think they're in a position to control stuff and to make the community suffer. Keep it on the east side, because on the west side, we ain't playing it and never will.
Bless you, brother. Bless you. Because you just nailed it. They want you to suffer to want more of what they want to give you. And you're exactly right. We've had enough suffering in our community, right? We've had enough suffering. It's time for us to rise. And we're not going to rise because of government. We're going to rise because of people like you, Joe. Good job.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you for calling. Next caller. All right. And that's what we're talking about. You know, we have a fine listening audience who know what we're talking about, who takes the information, and I'm gonna tell you something. You know, they were saying something about, you know, St. Pete and Tampa, the comparison between the two. You know, a lot of the same CRA funding, city, county stuff that happens in Pinellas County could happen in Hillsborough County. Some of the reasons it's not happening, and I've talked to some of the leaders, black and white, you know, county and city, and there's certain interpretations of the rules and regulations of what you can and cannot do with the CRA money, CRA dollars. And somehow the leadership in St. Pete and Pinellas County have decided that they can actually invest in people, communities. And in Hillsborough, the concern is in bricks and mortar, you know, buildings, you know, not people. You know, so it's a different philosophy, but in order to get the city, county, you know, folks to change that, we gotta come together, show up, and say that we want our issues addressed, and present them with issues that we want addressed. And if there is a value in Hillsborough County for the county to invest our tax dollars, CRA money is tax dollars that come from those communities, you know, so again, it's got to be a way that they can do it in Pinellas, that folks in Hillsborough are too stubborn, and I'm going to say that because I do talk with folks, and some people say that's what it is. You know, they don't want to. People in Hillsborough County, Tampa, think we're the big brothers, and the ones in Pinellas and St. Pete are the little brothers. So because they did it first, it can't happen here. I'm telling you, you know, that's stupid and idiotic thinking. You know, also, and this is me talking now, I'm saying that if St. Petersburg, they got two good, prime, responsible, dependable, reliable black candidates running for mayor in St. Pete right now. But I will tell you this: we need to help them get a black mayor, because if St. Pete don't get a black mayor, Tampa's never gonna get one. It's for some reason or another, they may be the little brothers or the little sisters, but stuff like that, they're light years ahead of us on politics and leadership. And the fact that they got two good qualified candidates running for mayor, I wish one of those brothers would get together and go to the other brother and say, let's win this together, and let's form a partnership and guarantee that we get one of us elected, as opposed to fighting and at the end of the day, some other candidate win. I'm just saying, that's something that can be done over there, and it's something that can be done over here. But other cities our size have had black mayors for 50 years. I'm just saying, if we ever decide that stop fussing and fighting among ourselves, we can make that happen here.
Eddie, you talk about we're bringing information to the table, we're bringing knowledge to the table, but it requires action. If you just have the information, you're sitting on that couch, it's not doing anything. It's like going to church and punching that time clock, thinking, oh, I'm getting my church time in, but you're not getting your Jesus time in. So when you guys hear the information, now what's next, Eddie? What can they do next to say, okay, I want to be a part of the solution, not continue complaining about the issue that I've always allowed to continue? How can people get involved?
Well, within the next couple of months, I and some other folks in Hillsborough County are going to try to make some things happen. So that's all I can say now.
Any meetings people can look up right now?
Not right now, like I just said. We're working. It's a process. This thing don't happen overnight. And it's a lot of fence got to be mended within the community. It's a lot of like working with black folk is an art form. And how you know that, if you make the effort to work with black folks, you'll find out it's an art form.
It's about trust, right?
Yeah, it's hard work. You've been trained for 400 years to not trust each other, not to like each other. That everything that's good comes from the white man. So that's ingrained in a lot of us. So one of these days, and again, I know it's an uphill battle, but we're gonna try to make sure that we have the right folks in the room, where we don't ask anybody for something. We can demand. We can make demands. Like Tom told a story earlier. He was talking to a state senator. She was a senator then. And he called her by her first name, and he told her, she was trying to get uppity, I think. He said he told her he called all his employees by their first name. So she forgot that as an elected state senator, state house representative, governor, or anybody that's elected, they work for us. And that's one thing I constantly remind folks. All them people in all those positions of power are there because you put them there.
100%.
And you should never let them forget that. That's why
Exactly.
if you show up to any city council meeting, a county commissioner meeting with 200 or 300 people, they will listen. I don't care what it is you're asking for.
So just so your audience knows, and this is the metric that they use at these places, is if you show up, they think that's 20 people worth of people showing up. One person. If you show up, that's 20. If you make a phone call, that's 10. If you send an email, that's 5. Show up. Because they know if you went out of your way to show up, there's 20 more people just like you.
And I know in this COVID time, folks, things have changed, but let me tell you this. The University of Florida football team will be doing the Gator growl and all this other stuff to a full stadium every game. It's a lot of places and a lot of things that are going back to normal. So you may have got into the COVID mindset and things are going to be different, but I'm going to tell you, that train is coming down the track.
Thank you, Eddie.
And if you're not ready, it's going to run you the hell over.
Big time.
Thank you for saying back to normal instead of a new normal.
It's all in the wording.
Yeah, it is. It is. Okay, let me go ahead and get the on this day done. You know, cause I know it's important to some of our listeners that we do this, and every now and then I come up with a good one that you may not have known, and may not have convinced, seen, or heard, like this one. On this day, May 22nd, 1849, Abraham Lincoln received a patent for the floating dry dock. Now, I know many of you guys didn't know Abraham Lincoln had any patents. Floating dry dock. He got a patent.
He was smart as heck.
He was.
Unlucky as heck, but he was smart.
Well, he was only unlucky one time.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
Yeah.
On this day, May 22nd, 1872, the Amnesty Act restored civil rights to the Southerners. That means the freed South. It took a number of years for us to get all our rights back, but we did. On this date, May 22nd, 1906, the Wright brothers received a patent for their flying machine. They didn't call them airplanes back then; they were flying machines. And on this date, May 22nd, 1992, Johnny Carson hosts the NBC's Tonight Show for the last time. He had been host for 30 years.
And late night's never been the same.
It's never been the same. Gabriel.
All right, folks, as we try and bring some levity, some humor to all of this, because it's kind of intense sometimes around here, the CDC and the LGBTQ community both agree that fanny pack should not be worn, and indeed, they are gay. So as we kind of move along with news, if you own a fanny pack, sorry. Meanwhile, Fauci does say that the coronavirus pandemic is undeniably has effects of racism in our society. He seems to be saying that after he was busted for funding the lab that gave us coronavirus. Well, it's always the details, right? So as we get more serious here, a wife got so mad at her husband that she packed his bags and told him to get the hell out. As he walked to the door, she yelled, "I hope you die a long, slow, and painful death." He turned around and said, "So you want me to stay?" I don't know, folks. The way it happens out here, it's really crazy. The CDC, meanwhile, also says that they had said that 6% of the coronavirus deaths was because they had two morbidities. Well, now they've dropped it down to 5%, and they have 4 comorbidities. So they kind of keep changing and monkeying around with those numbers. Well, just put in perspective, the numbers are down to now, there's 52 times more people that die from car wrecks than this wonderful thing that they call corona. It's not a cure, folks, if people are dying from it. It's not data if adverse reactions and deaths are being censored, not included. It's not research if they're deleting opposing information. It's not science if you're not allowed to question it. This is how stupidity works, folks. Understanding that, meanwhile, your congressman that you're paying their benefits and everything up in Washington, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has proposed a bill to add a 10% tax on all earnings made by white men. So, folks, for all of you that are fairly smart out there, for you to think, well, gee, if she wants to do it on white men, why can't she do it on black men or yellow men? If I know that we have a smart audience go, well, gee, these politicians can turn at any time on any one color, be it black, white, yellow. So keep your wits about you. Meanwhile, getting a little bit more lightening up load here. Russian woman weighing 224 pounds is accused of killing her husband by suffocating him with her butt. So, folks, as you kind of keep that perspective on going forward, as you jump in your vehicle and start smiling, if you remember that movie Dumb and Dumber, when you're going to get toxic chemicals injected into your body to keep you healthy. It's just the American term. The FDA will not approve it. Meanwhile, Democrats are beginning to wear binkies to wean them off of masks. People with larger thighs and hips live longer, says United Kingdom. Oh, and Biden wasn't really elected. He was installed, kind of like a toilet. That's it for me.
All right. I got one. I know we got a caller. We're gonna try to get to that caller. But let me give you this little piece of wisdom.
Come on, bring it.
At Porch Talk Radio. We're gonna do this quickly. They used to urinate. Back in the old days, they used urine to tan animal skins. You know, leather, hides, and stuff like that. So everybody used to pee in a pot. You know, some of you old timers remember that time they had the pot. And then once a day, they had someone who take the pot with the urine in it down to the tannery, and they sold it. If you had to do this to survive, you was called piss poor. But worse than that were the poor folks who couldn't even afford to buy a pot. They didn't have a pot to piss in, and they were the lowest of the low.
My goodness, Eddie. I feel so enlightened now.
Well, again, everything has a beginning, and you know, and that's actually truth, because they did use human urine to tan leather. So,
Eddie, my favorite book I have is Axioms, and that's an axiom. All those axioms, they originate from somewhere.
Right.
That's awesome. Thank
Right.
you for sharing that.
Yes. Okay. Let's see if we can get this last call in. Caller, welcome to Porch Talk Radio. Who are you? Where are you from? And what say you? Let's try to make it quick. Hello.
Hey, the Charles Cooper, how you doing?
Hey, sir.
Look here, you said something, Stokely Carmichael said back in 1964. You know something, if we ever come together, it definitely will be limitless. But you know something, he said, say white folk will get up off our neck. and look here, if we come together, that's the only way to build our own financial institutions. That's why we won't have to go to nobody, even the government, for nothing. The government, they have to come to us. We must do that. Or you know something, if we don't do that, we're going to have to go to civil war with white folk again. Thank you. Talk to me.
Thank you.
God bless you, sir.
I appreciate it. And what you said is truth, is the gospel. And at some point in time, we as a black nation will see that and start to live, eat, and prosper together. And I need to make sure you guys, and I keep using the Chinese community as a reference. They ain't perfect, but since 1800 they have kept their own community. The Chinatowns that were around then are around now, and not
Stronger.
only are they growing, they're prospering. So keep that in mind, and until next week, when we do this all again, again, like I started the show off saying, we love you. We know you are the greatest audience out there.
Smartest.
And very smart. And it's all about information. And thank you for listening. And we'll do this again next week. Same bat time, same bat station.
God bless America.
Bye-bye. We love you.